today.
Yes, we are. But who is that non-Korean going to be? Well, we'll find out in roughly 3 or 4 hours. Maybe we even have 2. We'll never know. We've already played out 5 groups. And guys, we started a little later today, so we're going to keep it real tight at the start of the show because we're sure that you guys were waiting for some StarCraft. But let's just take a look at all the players that have already advanced so far. Or we can actually just take a look at Alicia and hendralisk. That's completely okay with me as well, as that is going to be our first matchup of the day. Those are 2 of the players in Group F. The other 2 players are going to be Illusion and Tutming. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's happening next, Nate, but, you know, Alicia hendralisk, that is going to be our first match. I think it's going to be a great one. hendralisk has really impressed us, especially in Challenger, when he was able to defeat Scarlet with a 3-0 victory.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, you know, when you looked at the Challenger match, hendralisk and Scarlet, I think that's a really good way to put it. Scarlet, of course, is probably one of the biggest fan favorites, one of the most popular North American scene players, particularly as a Canadian. And hendralisk, also being Canadian, being able to take her out, well, just showing how good he is. I mean, we know as players in this scene that we've seen a lot of hendralisk pop up. Of course, this is the whole round of 32 overview. As you guys can see, this is Group F. We've played out quite a few, and we, with Group E, we actually had our first group where 2 Premier League players finally made it out from last season.
Yeah, so if history repeats itself, you know, on the top side of this graphic, we always had 1 Premier and then 1 non-Premier. Maybe in the bottom side of this graphic, we had the bottom 4 groups. It's going to be Premier League and Premier League only. That would mean that Alicia and Tutming are going to make it out. Those 2, you could say, are the favorites on paper, especially Tutming left a big impression on us after his WCS Premier League Season 1 run, where he played almost nothing but fantastic games. And even in the round of 16, he got pretty damn close to making it into the round of 8. I think today is a very open group. We'd be silly to underestimate Alicia, as he just has such a fantastic track record. And all of these Axiom players are just performing amazing lately. Obviously, they're working really hard in their team house in Korea. So on paper, Alicia is the favorite, and I'd be surprised if he doesn't make it out of the group. But it is not going to be easy, and he can definitely not underestimate anyone in this group.
Yeah, when you look at this group overall, obviously, as we said, our first match being Alicia hendralisk, you know, Tutming, of course, and Illusion, both players that have, you know, they've kind of come up a little bit more, of course. Tutming, maybe not one that you'd know as much about, but making it quite far from last season as well. And then Illusion, I mean, if you've seen his games in Challenger, he could do just about anything in his games. It's impossible to predict what he's going to bring out.
Yeah, Chris is always a lot of fun, at least for us, and hopefully you guys find Illusion a very exciting player as well. Let us know who you guys think is going to make it out of the group today. Hashtag WCS via the Twitter universe, and make sure to give us a follow as well at twitter.com/StarCraft and twitter.com/ESLTV to support this beautiful studio and all these screens behind us. And of course, you guys stay up to date with all the WCS America Premier League broadcasts.
Oh, wait, there's more, of course, guys. We've got the WCS Fantasy team that you can sign up for. You can pick 2 players from each region. You predict who's going to make it, how far they're going to make it, and your score is based off of their performance of a global ladder, so you can see how you stack up against all other WCS StarCraft fans. That's at fantasy.eslgaming.com/SC2. And check that out. Really cool stuff. I always love signing up for these fantasy leagues. I know even Pro League's fantasy league just come up. It's always cool to come in and be like, yeah, I know who's going to win this one. I know he's been practicing more than the other guys.
You know, there was one season in, I think, Fantasy Pro League where I did so ridiculously well in the first round. All my players won that game. I had 3 of my players winning the ace match of the, I don't know, couple thousand people that were signed up for that Fantasy Pro League. I think I was ranked 2nd in the entire thing. There was one guy who had 1 point more than me because he had something slightly better and he got like an extra point or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm the king of the world. I was so happy. I even put it in my stream title on Twitch. I was like, yeah, I got this. And then like the next week, you know, I was making all these horrible calls and my players were not performing anymore. But for 1 second, Nate, I had my moment in the spotlight.
The
30 seconds of fame.
The secret to Fantasy WCS Pro League is to make sure that you don't pick your favorite player. I have Flash on my anti-team this way. If he doesn't win, I get points. If he wins, I get to see Flash win. So
that is bad logic.
There's a secret.
I had that yesterday. I was like, I can bet on the Kings or I can just cheer for the Kings. And then like, if the Blackhawks win, then I'll be happy too. I was like, no, that's not right. I want to go all out. Go big or go home. This is America, Nate, and this is WCS America. Either way, our players are ready. We kept it short on the start of the show. Hopefully, you guys are ready for another day of awesome StarCraft 2 action. Our first game is going to be played on, Nate, make a guess. Don't peek. No sneak peeking.
I already saw it. It's
Oh.
too late. There's no going back, Kevin. There's no going back. We're going to play on Frost. I know you guys didn't see this map coming, but we're loaded in. We're ready to kick things off. As you guys can see, the game is set up behind us, and I'm super excited to kick off Group F of WCS America. This is going to be a good one, Kev.
Yes, it is. And we can just go ahead and jump into game. As you guys can see behind us, it looks a little different as we actually have the wrong overlay selected. Guys, hashtag blame on Roddy. Then again, I wasn't able to actually check it before the stream because we had a few issues over here. So this is all on me. Hopefully, I will be able to make a comeback. Of course, in the second game, we'll go back to our regular overlay. Forgive us. But Nate, you know, in the end of the day, this is not too bad. It still looks clean. I can work with it. I
can work with the Kev. I like that. That train thought. Top right position, blue Zerg player playing for Complexity. It is hendralisk, our Korean Zerg player. I guess. Well, I actually don't know exactly what he is. He's Canadian.
Yes. But, he's one hell of a Canadian, Nate. Yeah. He is so Canadian. He walks down the street at night with maple syrup in his hand.
Is he ride a moose?
I don't. That's pushing it. That would be really cool. Anyway, he is going up. hendralisk, of course, a blue Zerg on the right top side of the map, going up against this very strong red Protoss player spawning on the right bottom side of the map. Representing Team Axiom, he is Alicia. Alicia has been nothing but impressive for many years now. It's easy to forget about him, and every now and then you think like, how good is Alicia? He's not really the player that jumps to your mind when you think of the best Protoss players in the world. You know, you don't put him in the same category as Zest or Rain or Parting, but he is not far behind Nate. He has proven in the past that he can make it far in almost any tournament. He has collected a couple of very impressive second place finishes in some of the Premier tournaments back in the days, and then for a while we thought, you know, this might actually be the end of Alicia. We don't hear that much from him, but he came back strong. He was really impressive in the GSTL season, the one that Axiom won. Of course, that's a while ago already. But even last season, WCS America Premier League made it into the semi-finals and was relatively close to going all the way to the finals. And that was his best Premier League performance by far.
Yeah, Alicia easily stands as, I would say on paper, the strongest player in this group performance-wise. As Nexus first into gate, pretty brave, strong opening. Yeah, and Probe's gonna scout all these Zerglings coming at him as well.
What's going on over here, hendralisk? What are you doing? Okay, he's canceling a lot of buildings. Maybe hashtag mind tricks over here. He's pretending like he's going for a very quick speed, but then he canceled his extractor. He still slowed down his economy a little bit as well. As we can see, still only 16 workers. 6 Zerglings in this phase in the game is a few more than we normally expect. That is not just like, oh, let me make sure that I can usher a probe out. No, he wants to make something happen with these Zerglings, but I'm not sure what he's able to make happen. We all know hendralisk is also a very unique Zerg player. For the people who are unfamiliar with him, he is not your... I mean, I wouldn't say that he's not our bread and butter Zerg, as he can play relatively standard, but he also loves to exploit things that are possible and try to play much more against the opponent than the actual matchup.
Yeah, I feel like hendralisk is one of those players when we look at him in this group, could definitely bust out some of the more crazy builds, and already we've seen him trying to deny information in a weird way, of course, you know, canceling buildings, canceling the extractor, and these Zerglings are going to come back up towards the natural. They find this Zealot hacking away at the rocks, being lazy, but he's here, he's ready to protect these probes.
He's the opposite. Oh, so smart. He's actually tricking the Zealot, or like luring the Zealot out, using that one Zergling. He's like, catch me, and then the other 3 Zerglings were going to try to work on one of these probes. A little bit of mining time being lost for Alicia. It's also possible to slip up with your probe production over here because you're worried about microing. He gets another another probe. So in the end of the day, Nate, this wasn't all that bad. 6 Zerglings for 2 probes and slowing the other player's economy down a tiny bit.
Yeah, not bad at all. Double gas on the way for hendralisk in his natural expansion. And 2 gateways being added on by Alicia. So obviously what I'm looking to see is what type of tech is Alicia going to go for? When will he place it? Are we going to have a fast third? I feel like from Alicia we could see almost anything, but there's a lot of good solid 2-base styles in this matchup for sure.
Okay, but something that is definitely important and we should address is what did Alicia see? And with that probe, he saw the extractor going on, so he thinks, all right, by now my opponent should have speed. And if he doesn't have speed, then why was he taking the extractor? Is he doing something super crazy? Do I have 6, 7 roaches knocking on my front door soon? Is that what's happening over here? What is happening? He doesn't know. Of course, for us, it's very easy to see after that probe left, you know, hendralisk canceled the extractor. He never mind gas. But right now, if you're Alicia, you're definitely very careful. Up to the point where this fake Oracle is probably gonna scare hendralisk quite a bit. If I was hendralisk, I'd be scared.
Yeah, it's one of those things that can definitely be a bit awkward to see. Although as a hallucination, he'll be able to tell that it is fake quite fast, the queen, because the hallucinated units take double amount of damage.
Yep. Or he just thinks that his queen took steroids. Man, my queen is strong.
Man, was there like a patch last night? It's like you're like, wake up, okay, time to put WCS. Wait, my queens are crazy now.
That would be a dark day in the. That would be a dark day if you don't play Zerg.
Hey, they doubled the Queen's range in Wings of Liberty, and Heart of the Swarm, they doubled the damage.
Legacy of the Void Queen can actually shoot lasers.
Queen can uproot itself to fly.
Blizzard is going to surprise us. After Legacy of the Void, there is one more patch. Legacy of the Queen. Queen turns into Godzilla, starts shooting blue beams. Like, wah! Either way, this hallucination is going to get a good scout off for Alicia over here. And he will see that hendralisk try to trick him, and that is something that's also important to remember throughout the entire best of 3. Oh, so you're one of those Zergs that likes to throw in a few #mind games over here.
Yeah, so he's aware of pretty much everything that's going on now. A couple more sentries get warped in. +1 attack and a few more gates, Roddy.
Yeah, I think we're gonna get a few more than just a few more gates. This is a full wall off, and you don't go for a full wall off. I won't say if you try to expand.
Well, you know, he is really close to where this third base of hendralisk is, so not a bad point to apply some pressure to. Does he have enough production to really push through 7 roaches that he's making now?
He has a lot of sentries. This is really hard to say. It's all going to come down to the execution and the force fields. Roaches are scary. With 9 roaches, he might be okay, but I think that Alicia might just want to kill the hatchery. But I still wonder, why did he go for that full wall up? That confused me a little bit. Good force was over here, though. He gets a couple of these drones. That's definitely something.
Yeah, not bad at all. Just needs to be careful as the roaches are going to pop right next to some of these sentries. And last thing you want to do is lose sentries in this situation, but he's still managed to keep them all alive.
Yeah, he's starting to wipe in a lot of stalkers. The Mothership Core took quite a bit of damage. Is he going to drop a time warp, or is he going to save it for recall? He will go for the time warp, so that means that he's pretty committed to this. A lot of reinforcements on the way, but so far Alicia is doing a pretty good job in thinning out these Zerg units. But the Mothership Core has fallen, and as soon as these sentries expire, as long as hendralisk is able to keep building roaches, I don't think he has to lose his hatchery.
No, without the ability to, he can't recall, so he's fully committed with this attack if he gets overwhelmed. Zergling's going to try to run up front, pick off a sentry or two, not terrible at all. He's pretty much out of force field, so it's just these stalkers trying to make this attack work. +1 attack is just about to complete for Alicia, but hendralisk is holding on so far.
Yeah, stalkers are falling though. I think Alicia should be more careful. He's doing a pretty good job so far, but there's still a lot of HP on this hatchery. This is really important. If Alicia gets this hatch, then obviously everything has been worth it. If he doesn't get it, I think he's in a little bit of trouble, but the hatch starting to run really low on HP right now. Even drones being pulled, but more units streaming across the map as well. Here come the Zergling reinforcements. Is hendralisk able to hang in there?
He's still got a couple of these roaches with very little health, getting out a lot of damage. Zealots, sentries, all cleaned up. It's just stalkers for now.
If he was able to reposition the Spinecrawler during that fight, that could have helped as well. Now 3 Zealots being warped in. Those are going to be very effective against Zerglings. And I think now this is the moment where that hatchery is most susceptible and should most likely go down. Alicia, you're going to have to go for it, because the longer you wait, you don't know what's coming.
Yeah, just more roaches and Zerglings being produced by hendralisk, doing everything possible to defend. Hatchery's quite low, does get picked off finally.
Yep, and these Broodlings shouldn't really make life too much harder either. Force was going down, new Mothership Core popping up as well. That's funny, he remade the Mothership Core during all that. He's still picking up a few of these roaches. There is still no roach speed, and in the end Alicia will be able to get out of there after dealing a lot of damage and above all taking down this hatchery.
Yeah, not bad at all. Robotics facilities on the way, +1 armor for Alicia, as well as the Twilight Council, so could potentially move into a second forge or just additional upgrades later on. And hatchery, the third at least, was going to be rebuilt towards the top side of the base.
Yeah, this is a really bizarre game now, Nate, because this was not just a pressure build. This was a pseudo all-in. Like, it wasn't all-in, but it was definitely all-in, as in, like, I'm going to have to kill that hatch, otherwise this wasn't all-in and I'm so far behind. He has taken out his own pylon. You know, it's real funny because I always feel so bad about destroying my own buildings in the wall. So when he went for the full wall off, I was like, he's going to add 3 more gates and he's just going to go all out, 7 gate +1. But it was an in-betweener. It was definitely a very big commitment, but he was able to get the damage done that he was looking for. It's kind of hard to read the state of the game now. The robotics facility was obviously very late. First observer is on the way. Now we see a Hydralisk then being morphed in as well. Blink Stalkers and +2 are on the way. That is of course great news. But as soon as Ro32 is ready, I'm not sure if Alicia can win this game without Immortals, without Colossus. I think he's going to have to go up to 3 bases, but I am not 100% positive. It's really hard to read the state of this game. I think it's good for Protoss, because, you know, he killed 3rd base, and it's always good for Protoss, but...
It's still an awkward situation, I think, is probably one of the best ways that you could have put it, Kev. We've seen players with this many Stalkers, and obviously the first player that comes to mind is someone like Puck, who can make, with just good force fields and blinks, overwhelming a low amount of Roach Hydra pretty effectively.
Hendralisk is supply blocked in the near future. That's very unfortunate. Now we see 3 Overlords being fired up. Creep is going to buy a little bit of time. There is an Observer with his army. This is going to make reinforcements a little harder for Alicia. He doesn't have a Warp Prism either, so I think he's gonna. This push is going to be delayed. He's working up. Okay, he has 7 gateways actually. I just counted 6. Okay, now we have 7. So 7 gate plus 2 Blink Stalker after a 4 gate plus 1 pressure. Real interesting execution so far. Well done. I guess it could work. It's all going to come down to the blinks, but the supply is actually quite close, and it's closer than I think it should be. But, you know, the reinforcements are pretty far away, and that might be the only thing that hendralisk has going for himself. Yep,
trying to move in on this army on creep, but the first time warp's planted, and he steps back. I feel like he's got a good position to try to hit this army from multiple different sides if Alicia steps too far forward. Keep in mind, Alicia still has not done anything like build a 3rd base, so this is still pretty committed if hendralisk can shut it down.
Yeah, but there is so many Blink Stalkers. I feel good time warp going down, good force was going down as well. I think if I was hendralisk, I would just back off over here, because those units are going to dwindle down one by one. A few Zerglings getting picked off as well. Alicia is not dropping in supply as well, hasn't even lost a whole lot of units. Going for a forward blink over here on the left side, where he finds a couple of Roaches and Hydralisk.
Yep, he's moving in on the right side as well. A bunch of Hydras coming in, and these force fields actually limiting the number of Stalkers that can shoot as well, but without too much to tank for these Hydras, the Stalker count is so scary.
We almost have 30 Stalkers. Is this Puck playing or is this Alicia? it's hard to say. Drones being pulled as well. Alicia still having quite a bit of money in the bank because he's been focusing on his micro, and his micro has been very impressive. He hasn't really lost a whole lot of units. If we take a look at units lost resources, we can see he has lost 47 units, but most of those units I feel went down in the earlier stages in the game when he wiped in a lot of Zealots, a few sentries. In this Blink Stalker push, his supply has only gone up.
Yeah, this is... I like how you said this is pretty much like some Puck style play, man. There's a crazy amount of Stalkers on the map, and a few force fields as well can be the icing on the cake in this fight. And he's moving up this ramp. This is still a good position. I think this is about as good a position as hendralisk is going to get to fight against this.
Couldn't agree more. I love how he's bringing the Hydras real close as well. That means that if Stalkers blink back, these Hydras can still get in range of them. But there are just so many Stalkers, and this is Alicia as well. He's been using Blink Stalkers for years. He knows how powerful they can be. He has to be careful, but new Stalkers coming in as well with a lot of fresh HP that can soak up some damage. Now the drones are being pulled. Queens are doing a good job in trying to transfuse whatever they can, but I feel that Alicia just has a few Stalkers too many. That's a real eager blink, but I guess he's able to get away with it.
Yeah, Alicia diving on top of hendralisk's forces. A couple more Hydras coming out, but that's not enough. GG is called, and Alicia takes game number 1 in our first match here of Group F at WCS America Premier League. I mean, honestly, we saw that fast wall off of the natural expansion, and he only had 4 gateways. So me, as someone that doesn't play Protoss, thought it was pretty interesting. You might go into how exactly Alicia was using that first push to set himself up for the later attack.
I like how Alicia did it in the long run. I was a little bit confused. I was mostly confused by that pattern, because the majority of the time when you see a 4-gate +1 opening, it's just they leave a Zealot or a Stalker in their wall, but he went for the full wall off, and I was like, okay, maybe when he moves out, he drops 3 additional gates. And I love how he went very methodical about it all. He didn't go all out on the hedge or all out on the units. It was like, I'll fight the units when I can. I work on the hedge when I can to make sure that I can keep the pressure up. But in the end, you know, it was a little bit of both, but he was able to get the work done. He never lost too many Stalkers. And one moment it got so close when you pointed out as well, there were a couple of very low HP Roaches. And it's like, if those Roaches stay alive a little longer and reinforcements come along, if Stalkers die, they often die by many. It's like the domino effect, you know, one Stalker falls and suddenly they all die, or no Stalkers die at all. So it definitely got close, but in the end, Alicia stayed very calm after what he saw early game, and he just executed his pressure very well. It's once again interesting, because if that Zerg base is not there in the middle of the map, but instead hendralisk would have gone for the expand on the north side on the map next to his main, on the west side of his main. Yes, correct, west side low ground. Then it would be so much harder to make a push like that work, and I wonder if Alicia would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I really think you made a good point, and the 3rd base position of hendralisk made that attack just kind of flow. Like he went straight over to his third base. Really easy for him to put pressure on there. And we've seen a lot of this Blink Stalker +2 style. It's very strong in that mid-game stage, especially if you can get in there early enough that you don't need any other tech, right? You don't need Colossi to deal with anything crazy like Swarm Hosts, and you just have enough Stalkers with good enough micro to overwhelm, a small Hydralisk count. I feel like when the supplies get higher between those two army compositions, the Hydralisks get, they just put out so much damage too quickly, but the force fields also played a large hand in that.
Definitely, and hendralisk never really had the economy that he wanted to make Hydralisk. Like making a lot of Hydras from something between 50 and 55 drones is just not that ideal. You'd prefer to have closer to 60 or maybe a little over that, or preferably go over 70. But if that's not possible, then at least a little over 60. Then you're able to pump out a lot of Hydras, and often you just barely have enough Hydras to survive against the 2-base Protoss. But he was never that rich. He took a lot of damage early on, and overall Alicia just executed this build real nice. Either way, we are getting ready for game number 2. It is going to be played on Overgrowth. hendralisk versus Alicia. Does he have what it takes to bring it back, or is Alicia going to win the first series of the day 2-0? We'll find out in just a matter of minutes. Once again, guys, we don't have the regular overlay just yet because we actually switched out PC, so the overlay isn't on my PC, but we'll fix it in the commercial break.
All right, it's time to find out if our Zerg player in the bottom left position can bring this series back to a standstill. Representing complexity, it is our Canadian hendralisk. Falling to that, I guess it was like kind of like a 1-2 punch build that our Protoss player threw out. In the top right position, representing Axiom Esports, it is Alicia.
What I still don't understand is why hendralisk morphed in an evolution chamber and then he cancelled it. Do you think he was indecisive?
When I looked at the vision of Alicia, I don't even think he saw the evolution chamber either.
No, he didn't.
That's like, I'm honestly not so sure. My only assumption would be that if he wanted to actually get the gas, maybe he would have kept it for something like a super fast +1 road, but even that I haven't seen too much in this matchup. So
yeah, some Zerg players like to go real crazy if they feel they play against a Stargate build. They actually open up. Oh, I like this so far by hendralisk. He is going for the drone scout against Alicia, who went for the pilot on the low ground and also warped in the forge at 12/13 supply. So if Alicia had any ambitions of cannon rushing hendralisk, that is not going to happen, as hendralisk already morphs in the spawning pool in his main base after seeing that there is a forge. But yeah, some Zerg players like to go real crazy with +1 Zerglings. They just make a ridiculous amount of links, and +1 Zerglings actually. Oh, Alicia, you dirty!
I wanted to ask,
Protoss.
Was it Alicia that tried to do this versus which Zerg was it? There was one. It might have been Oz against Revival in WCS America Season 1, where he's like, "Yeah, you went 15 pool. I'm still gonna try to cannon rush you."
Putting me in a spot here, Nate.
It's happened before.
It has happened many times. It was probably Haas. Elfie in disguise. Either way, it was probably Top. Top has done this as well. So Top has done this a few too many times.
Yo, okay, real talk. Is it possible behind the mineral line, that cliff space between the third? Does a pylon power reach across that? Do you know?
No, I've never tried. I don't.
I would love to see someone try to cannon rush like that. Like it would take you forever to get your drones over there. No?
It's dirty, Nate. I mean, what you could do is maybe get a pylon over here and a cannon, and then that would protect the pylon over here, and then you could... Like, a cannon would definitely protect buildings over here. At least from melee units, maybe not from range, obviously. Either way, doesn't really matter, as you saw the Nexus going down on the other side of the map, so Alicia didn't commit at all to his potential cannon rush. He saw the drone on location, he's like, alright, this is not going to happen, I tried, it's not going to work, let's just take this into a macro game. But now I do feel that hendralisk already has a little bit more freedom with how this is played early on, and we'll see where he wants to take this. So far, no extractors have gone down just yet.
No. Probe's going to check the third base of hendralisk. Nothing to see there as his Zergling starts to shoo that away. And, well, now the third base is underway. So,
look at this happy Zergling chasing this probe around. This probe, of course, would, again, by the way, Alicia has scouted an extractor, and again, hendralisk has cancelled it. And I don't mind it at all. I actually think, it's very silly to just always... either I'm not going to take my gas, or I will take my gas and I start mining from it. I've always thought, like, why are Zerg players not more often pretending like they open gas and then Protoss players are supposedly to do this and that because they have to be careful, and then suddenly they just cancel the gas. It's such a small investment, but it can throw the Protoss player off, especially if they play very linear, you know, like, oh, against gas, I always do this, against no gas.
I mean, to cancel an extractor, you only lose 6 minerals.
Yeah, it's almost nothing. And for instance, if I know on a map like this that I'm playing against the gasless opening, I like to play some gateway pressure with either Zealots or with Stalkers, because as long as there's no creep, your Stalkers will never get surrounded by slow Zerglings, and your Stalkers will never die against Queens or Roaches. But if I play against the gas opening, I will obviously never open like that, because it's just silly, and your Stalkers get surrounded by Speedlings. So I think it's very smart what hendralisk is doing here. It's so small, but it's pretty significant for what we know about this matchup and what we think we are supposed to do.
All right, Probe's going to come in, sees the third base done, sees a queen here for hendralisk, ready to push him out. Of course, behind all of this, Alicia's got that +1 attack upgrade on the way, continuing to squeeze out sentries, and this Zealot wants to cover the probe, save his buddy.
Well, that probe has been behind enemy lines for a long time, but hasn't never really gone all the way in.
He's been on a journey.
Yeah, that probe has been... I wish there was a distance counter on units to see how far this probe has traveled across the map, because he's been running half a marathon up to this point.
That's one of the achievements. Have one unit cover like 1,000 kilometers or something.
Exactly. But then we would do miles, Nate. This is WCS America. We don't know we don't know no kilometers over here.
My knowledge of measurements has been tainted.
Either way, we see a Roach one going down, speed being researched as well for hendralisk. It was kind of fake pressure, but now we do still see 3 additional gates being warped in. We all know that Alicia can be a very aggressive Protoss, that he's not strange of going for a crazy 7-gate +1, something that you don't see very often, but he's a player that can still do it, and just because he's so damn good at it, it often even works. But while I try to do it, Nate, that top 8 Master League Zerg player shuts it down like it's nothing. It's a struggle of your ordinary Protoss.
It's okay. The first 4 lings he made would have gotten into my base if I was trying to execute that build. I know the feel. Third base on the way for Alicia. As +1 attack comes close to completing, guess what? That Twilight Council is going to line up pretty damn well with it, Kevin. And I'm feeling maybe we're going to see some more Blink Stalkers with +2.
Yeah, definitely. This is like an in-between build as well, where he can decide to completely saturate that base, but he can also stop at the 50 workers that he has, and then just warp in 3 additional gateways over here, part of a Sim City, but then go super aggressive, because often Zerg players try to rush up to Hive or do something crazy when they play a build like this, and then suddenly you're able to surprise them with a ridiculous amount of Blink Stalkers. I actually think that Alicia tried just that build on WCS America Premier League Season 1.
Ventral Sacks on the way for hendralisk. He's going to go for some Roach drop action here.
Yeah, and that is kind of surprising, because he's going to play against Blink Stalkers. I think he even spotted... where is the Twilight? He saw the Twilight, and he said, what?
He started the Overlord speed upgrade on his other hatchery, so he definitely didn't misclick. He's going to at least have the option to Roach drop him. He's got a Baneling nest too.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And he has an infestation pit. My hendralisk is just doing everything now. Maybe he's gonna try to drop units all over the place, but he's not that extremely rich that he's just able to overpower the Protoss by throwing away unlimited amount of units. We see a Robobay going down as well. I feel that the build that Alicia has, with all the Blink Stalkers that he's going to have soon and all the gateways that he can work with, I think Alicia should be able to deal with this pretty efficiently. It all comes down to execution, of course. You know, if he underreacts to a big drop, then you know it's going to turn out different. But I'm very surprised by what hendralisk is doing so far. I have no idea about the infestation pit. Maybe it's a Swarmhost follow-up after he kills a base or something like that, and he wants to make sure he doesn't die.
I mean, we've seen Swarmhosts on this map. They're not too terrible on it.
No, not at all. And especially if you're able to kill a Protoss and they want to counterattack, and then you get Swarmhosts. It's fantastic. These Roaches are getting very close to those sentries. They could have actually just gone in and kill quite a few of these sentries. Here come the Banelings. He can also just drop the Banelings on top of these sentries and then try to overpower the Protoss player with a lot of these. Look at this, by the way. It's like, oh, well, this is awkward. I have one Warp Prism.
I have a Warp Prism. He passes by. He's like, why are these Overlords migrating? Is it a sign?
hendralisk also spotting that Warp Prism, already keeps a couple of units in his main base.
Oh, he's gonna do it. He's gonna drop Roaches and Banelings all over him. Well, I don't know why I'm so excited about this, Kevin.
Well,
I haven't seen it in so long.
This could actually, I mean, look at the supply. I'm surprised, 114 supply against 52 supply. I'm surprised how much more hendralisk has than Alicia. Of course, Alicia does have Blink. He does have +2, so he has the better upgrades. But here come the Banelings. Will they be able to land on top of the sentries?
Oh, he's coming over the wall. The Banelings, the Roach is beginning to drop. He's hitting all over this army of Alicia. The Colossus pops out during all of this, though. There's still quite a bit here to fight for our Protoss player. Is it enough with that Nexus cannon? The Roaches break the front wall and run in. Time Warp will not completely stop them from getting on top of this army. Probes even being pulled to try to defend against this, and Alicia knocked below 80 supply, has lost quite a bit in his attempt of defending this.
But I think he will stabilize, and as long as he stabilizes and he doesn't lose more workers than he currently has lost, then he should be okay. Good blinks as well. That photon overcharge and that time warp is so extremely effective and important. The Mothership Core definitely the real MVP of this fight, as these Roaches will fall. hendralisk did a lot of damage there, Nate, but it is deceiving. I think in the end, Alicia is in a pretty good position now. He's only down 14 workers. He will go for the forward blink. Has to be careful, can't get too over-eager. But as long as he has this Colossus alive, he should be fine.
Yep, Colossus is going to be there to help pimp the Lings in this Stalker count. Not too terrible versus the Roach numbers. Would have been really scary to lose a lot of those Overlords.
Really well done, because that definitely looked scary. All those Roaches on top of those Stalkers and the Banelings doing quite some damage as well. But, you know, Photon Overcharge really showing how good it truly is. Without Photon Overcharge, I don't think there was any way that he would have survived that. Especially not without the Time Warp as well. Both spells
it really helps to soak up a lot of the damage that hendralisk's army could do. So 3 base versus 3 base now. Overlords migrating back home for the winter.
Yeah, hendralisk did a little bit of economic damage. Grand total of 16 workers have gone down throughout this game. Spire is halfway underway. I don't think this is for Mutalisk. He doesn't have the money for Mutas. And also there are +2 Blink Stalkers out on the map already. So if you're not extremely rich, if you're not much richer than the Protoss, I don't think a Muta switch against +2 Blink Stalkers is the best idea. So I think it's just for Corruptors and trying to deal with these Colossus, which could theoretically work, but we'll see. I mean, hendralisk is saving up quite some money though.
He's got a solid bank building. As the Spire gets closer to completing, he's still getting the Hydral Ascend, still getting his upgrades. That Warp Prism has not had any use, really.
No, and I'm actually happy that Alicia didn't use that Warp Prism, because he needed every single unit he could have possibly get at home. He was down 60 army supply. Of course, not all of the army supply was here immediately, and most of Alicia's army supply was, but still he was down quite a bit in army supply. And then we do see the 12 Corruptors on the production tab, which I think is a wise decision by hendralisk, because I don't think this was the right time and place for the Muta.
No. 12 Corruptors. Good versus the Colossi, but of course he can still hold the low ground here to defend against this hatchery, blinking all of his Stalkers up. It's the power of the Colossi Stalker combination, grants the vision to blink, and then of course the Colossi just have crazy range and can walk up/down those cliffs.
I think a few Stalkers misblinked there. Now in the end they will all make it out. hendralisk is, he's setting up a big flank, but he's not ready for this. And off creep, I'm not sure about this. I understand that he probably thinks that this is his best chance, but I think this Protoss army is pretty damn strong against the army that hendralisk has.
Yeah, Corruptors are going to come in just a little bit late in this fight. First Colossus taken down. There's still a lot of Stalkers here. Most of the Roaches are already cleaned up by the time that he kills the second Colossus, and the third one still holding strong, getting out tons of damage. It will also fall, but not before the majority of the Corruptors are also killed. And guess what? Another Colossus rolls up.
Yeah, and not just the Colossus, but the Blink Stalker count is going to keep growing as well. This Warp Prism taking a lot of damage is not going to fall. But the Stalker count again is at 28, while hendralisk is at 25 Roaches. And obviously that's quite close, but Stalkers with Blink and +2 against +1 Roach. No, actually 2-1 Roaches, so hendralisk's upgrades are better than I thought they were. But still, it's 2-1 for Alicia as well, but he has Blink. And the Roaches, well, they don't have Blink, Nate.
Nope, they don't.
It'd be scary if they had, but they don't.
4 Corruptors come up trying to pick off that Colossus, but he's still getting in so much damage. Now it's finally destroyed, but there's a ridiculous amount of Stalkers. We saw what he did with Stalkers in the last game. Alicia is destroying this force of hendralisk. GG is called in a 2-0 victory for our semifinalists of last season. Alicia definitely showing he belongs in the round of 16 again.
He's here to play today, Nate. He wants to come back to America. Alicia has made it multiple times to the round of 16 last year when we had the finals here in Southern California. I think he one time made it in Southern California and he one time made it in New York. So he knows how it is, and he probably enjoys his time over here. And he played solid. This was not an easy hold, I think, on Overgrowth. All those Roaches and Banelings were definitely quite terrifying. I have died multiple times against something like that in the past. I thought the idea was cool. You know, sometimes we can overanalyze things, and is this bad? Is this should this work? You know, hendralisk went for a strategy, something we don't see every single game, and I think it's awesome he went for it. And you know, it could have worked if Alicia would have messed up one way or the other. You know, maybe if he goes for something else than the Colossus, like. Normally, Immortals are way better than Colossus against Roaches. But I think in this scenario, where everything was so clumped up and you're fighting in such a narrow choke, the Colossus was actually the better unit, because the Colossus can step over Protoss units and can be microed a little easier. While if Roaches are being dropped on top of Immortals, Immortals might actually fall. Force fields were obviously, you know, no part of the occasion because everything got dropped on top of the army. But that one Colossus was microed well. He pulled probes at the right moment, and an excellent time warp was just enough for Alicia to hang in there. And from that point on, it was almost smooth sailing for him.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a fantastic defense, really. I had to echo your sentiments about the Photon Overcharge, the Nexus, really drawing in a lot of attention, getting out a good amount of damage. I think it got total about 6 kills during the fight, but it soaked up so much of the damage. Those shields didn't even deal real damage to the Nexus. So fantastic play by Alicia to defend it. hendralisk put up a good fight, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough. He goes down to the losers match, and Alicia awaits the winner of our next series.
Yep, our next series is going to be Illusion versus Tutming. That should be an awesome TVZ. Me personally, I've always been a fan of Illusion. He's been around for a long time, of course, once upon a time part of Quantic Gaming as well, just like our Protoss that we saw yesterday, State, who did very well. Even went to Korea for a while, then came back, stopped playing StarCraft. WCS was announced. It's like, oh, I'm going to try my luck again. Was part of the Premier League last season and was part of it again this time. It's really exciting for me. Chris is a very fast player. He has made it to a couple of famous YouTube videos multiple times in the past, can do some fancy stuff with bonkers. Should be one hell of a series.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. Of course, Chris, our player from Root Gaming, he is definitely one of the more interesting players to watch. We've seen some crazy styles from him. Every time I watch him play a series, I'm always expecting a 2 racks, but he'll do it in weird ways. Is hard to predict, that's for sure.
And then on the other end, we have Tutming, who impressed a lot of people last season with his WCS America Premier League Season 1 run. Of course, the most important thing, or the one move that everyone will remember, is perhaps the most beautiful roach surround that we have ever seen in StarCraft 2. It couldn't have been any better. Also, big shout out to the Observer in that game. He did a marvelous job in like portraying all the action. Either way, we'll get ready for our second series of the day after this very small commercial break. So guys, stay tuned and we'll be right back.